The twin moons hung heavy in the darkened sky, their silver glow illuminating the edge of the domed city of New Santiago. Beyond the shimmering protective barrier, the alien wilderness stretched out like a vast ocean of crimson sand dunes, dotted with glowing flora that pulsed faintly in the night. Elena Rivera, a curious 10-year-old with a penchant for wandering, found herself staring through the translucent dome at the strange landscape. The wilderness called to her, its beauty alien and forbidden. Her mother had warned her countless times not to stray near the dome's edge, let alone leave the city. But curiosity was a powerful thing, especially for someone like Elena, who had spent her entire life within the confines of New Santiago. She pressed her palm against the cold surface of the barrier and watched as faint ripples spread outward from her touch, distorting the view of the outside world. "Elena, dinner!" Her mother's voice echoed faintly from their home, pulling her attention away from the mesmerizing view. "Coming!" Elena called back, though she didn't move. Her gaze lingered on a cluster of glowing flowers swaying gently in the wind just beyond the dome. They looked so close, so reachable. A soft hum interrupted her thoughts. It wasn't the hum of the barrier or the faint mechanical whir of the city's machinery. It was something deeper, almost alive. The sound seemed to vibrate in her chest, growing louder with each passing second. Before she could react, a ripple of silver light cut through the air a few meters away. It hung there, a shimmering vortex that distorted reality like a heat wave on a summer's day. Elena stepped back, her heart pounding. The vortex expanded, its edges flickering with tendrils of black and violet energy until it was large enough for something to step through. And something did. The creature emerged slowly, its movements deliberate and fluid. Its form was cloaked in shadow, though faint outlines revealed a muscular, humanoid frame. Its eyes, glowing a pale violet, locked onto Elena immediately. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, the creature's presence overwhelming and impossible to comprehend. Elena opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Her legs felt like they were rooted to the ground, fear paralyzing her. The creature tilted its head, as though studying her, and then it moved. In a flash, it closed the distance between them, its movements faster than her eyes could follow. A clawed hand reached out and grabbed her arm with an iron grip. The pendant around her neck, a small, silver medallion, shaped like a crescent moon, flashed with an unexpected brilliance. The creature paused, its violet eyes narrowing, before dragging her into the vortex. The last thing Elena saw before the world dissolved into chaos was the city of New Santiago, shrinking rapidly into the distance as she was pulled into the unknown. Elena's senses returned slowly, her head pounding as though she had been submerged underwater and then thrust back into the open air. She blinked, trying to focus on her surroundings. The forest was unlike anything she had ever seen. Towering trees with phosphorescent bark stretched high into the sky, their branches forming a glowing canopy that bathed everything in soft, shifting hues of blue and green. The ground was covered in moss that shimmered like crushed emeralds, and streams of glowing water carved intricate paths through the landscape. The creature was gone. Elena stumbled to her feet, her breaths coming in short gasps. "Where am I?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the distant sounds of alien wildlife. She reached for her pendant, clutching it tightly. It still felt warm, as though reacting to the energy of this strange place. Her mother had always told her the pendant was special, a family heirloom from Earth, passed down through generations. But now, it seemed far more than a simple trinket. A low guttural growl broke the stillness. Elena froze, her heart racing as the sound grew louder, more menacing. She turned slowly, her eyes scanning the shadows between the trees. They were there. 8 massive creatures, their forms wolf-like but far more terrifying, emerged from the underbrush. Each was the size of a small car, their fur shimmering with a metallic sheen that reflected the bioluminescent light of the forest. Their eyes glowed like molten lava, and saliva dripped from their jagged, steel-like fangs. The largest of the wolves stepped forward, its movement slow and deliberate, as though savoring the moment. Its growl deepened, a sound that reverberated through Elena's very bones. She backed away, her mind screaming at her to run, but her legs refused to move. The wolves began to circle her, their predatory instincts in perfect synchronization. Elena whimpered, clutching her pendant tighter. "Please, someone help me," she whispered. The largest wolf crouched, muscles coiling as it prepared to lunge. Then it happened. A loud, resonant hum filled the air, a sound so deep and powerful that it seemed to come from the forest itself. The wolves froze mid-step, their ears perking up as they turned their heads toward the source of the noise. A figure emerged from the shadows, walking with a calm, almost regal demeanor. It was humanoid, but distinctly alien. Its skin was a deep blue, shimmering faintly under the forest's light, and intricate, glowing markings adorned its body, pulsing rhythmically like veins filled with liquid starlight. It carried a staff, its tip glowing with the same energy that filled the air. The wolves growled but didn't attack. Instead, they retreated slightly, as though unsure of whether to challenge this newcomer. The alien figure stopped a few feet from Elena, its glowing eyes scanning her with what seemed like a mix of curiosity and concern. It knelt, extending a hand toward her. Elena stared at the alien, her mind a whirlwind of fear and confusion. Yet, despite its strange appearance, she felt no malice from it. If anything, its presence was oddly calming. "Hello?" she stammered, her voice trembling. The alien spoke, its voice soft and melodic, though its words were incomprehensible. It gestured to her pendant, its markings glowing brighter as it did so. Elena hesitated before extending her hand. The alien touched the pendant gently, and a sudden wave of energy surged through her, making her gasp. A series of holographic symbols and star charts projected from the pendant, hovering in the air like a living map. The alien studied the projection, its expression unreadable. A howl pierced the air, low and guttural, drawing both their attention. The largest wolf stepped forward again, its eyes burning brighter than before. The pack followed, closing in once more, their hesitation replaced by renewed aggression. The alien stood quickly, its markings flaring with light as it raised its staff. A dome of shimmering energy surrounded them, pushing the wolves back temporarily. Elena clutched her pendant, its glow intensifying. She could feel its power now, as though it were alive, responding to her fear and determination. The alien glanced at her, its glowing eyes filled with urgency. It spoke again, this time in halting, heavily accented English. "You, Key," it said, pointing to her, and then to the sky. Elena's mind raced. Key? To what? Before the alien could answer, the wolves launched another attack, their combined strength hammering against the energy dome. Cracks began to form in the barrier, and the alien's markings dimmed, a sign of its growing exhaustion. Elena gritted her teeth, her fear giving way to resolve. She didn't understand what was happening, but one thing was clear. She wasn't just a helpless child anymore. The pendant's warmth spread through her, and she felt a surge of energy she couldn't explain. As the largest wolf lunged, its jaws wide open, Elena raised the pendant instinctively. A blinding pulse of light erupted from it, freezing everything in place. For a moment, the forest was silent. Then, the strangest thing happened. The wolves stepped back, their aggression replaced by something almost like reverence. The alien looked at Elena with a mix of awe and fear. "You," it whispered, "are more than Key. You are destiny." The silence of the alien forest was a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in Elena's mind. The wolves had suspended their activities, holding a distinctly amiable presence with a pact-like moonlight. 8 massive predators with metallic fur and glowing eyes had retreated, their snarls replaced by a tense stillness. The light from her pendant faded, leaving her shivering in the eerie glow of phosphorescent trees. The alien figure, who had just spoken to her in halting English, knelt beside her, its luminous markings dimming slightly as though it, too, was exhausted from whatever had just occurred. Despite its otherworldly appearance, Elena felt a strange sense of safety near it, as though its presence were a buffer against the wolves and the oppressive strangeness of this place. What just happened? Elena managed, her voice barely louder than a whisper. The alien tilted its head, studying her intently. It gestured to her pendant, the shimmering staff in its other hand, humming faintly. You, powerful, more than this. Elena frowned, her fingers tightening around the silver crescent moon at her neck. It had always been just a keepsake, a gift from her mother, with an old family story about resilience and hope. Now, it pulsed with an energy that felt as alive as the glowing forest surrounding her. The largest wolf, its molten orange eyes locked onto Elena, growled low in its throat. The sound wasn't as aggressive as before. It was something else entirely, like a question or a challenge. Elena shivered under its gaze, feeling its intensity like a physical weight. The alien stood, its staff flaring with light. It waved the wolves back, speaking a string of words in its strange melodic language. The wolves hesitated, their ears twitching as though they understood. The largest one snarled but turned and paced a few steps away, the rest of the pack following reluctantly. "What are they waiting for?" Elena asked, her voice trembling. The alien looked at her, the glowing patterns on its face pulsing faintly. "Not wait," it said, searching for the right words. "Watching. Want. Pendant." Elena's stomach twisted. Why? What's so special about it? The alien knelt again and reached out to touch the pendant. Its touch was gentle, almost reverent. The silver crescent moon began to glow faintly, and a holographic projection emerged from it once more, filling the space between them with floating symbols and star charts. Elena leaned closer, mesmerized. The symbols shifted and rearranged themselves, forming what looked like a map. A starburst pattern glowed at its center, with branching lines connecting distant points of light. "This," the alien said, pointing to the starburst, "is key." "A key to what?" The alien hesitated, its luminous eyes flickering, as though it struggled to translate its thoughts into her language. "To end. To life. To control." Elena's pulse quickened. "That doesn't make any sense. What does my pendant have to do with it?" Before the alien could answer, the largest wolf let out a bone-rattling howl, and the pack surged forward once more, stopping just short of the barrier of light surrounding them. The alien rose swiftly, its staff glowing brighter as it reinforced the protective dome. The strain was evident now. The alien's glowing markings dimmed further, and its breathing grew heavier. Elena could see cracks forming in the shimmering barrier, faint lines of weakness that widened with each strike from the wolves. "They're going to break through," she cried, her panic returning in full force. The alien turned to her, its voice urgent. "You must use it. Pendant. You. Power." "I don't know how." The alien stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. Its touch was warm, steadying her trembling body. "You do know," it said, its voice low but firm. "Feel it. Trust it." Elena closed her eyes, trying to focus. The pendant's warmth spread through her, a steady pulse that matched the rhythm of her racing heart. She thought of her mother's voice, her father's stories of bravery, the safety of her home. Everything she wanted to return to. The pendant responded. A surge of light erupted from it, brighter than before, casting the wolves in stark relief. The creatures froze, their glowing eyes narrowing as though the brilliance were painful. The light swirled around Elena and the alien, expanding outward until it enveloped the entire clearing. The largest wolf howled again, but this time the sound was different. It wasn't a challenge or a warning. It was a call. Elena opened her eyes to see the wolves bowing their heads, their aggression gone. The largest one stepped forward cautiously, its molten gaze fixed on her. For a moment it simply stared, its massive frame silhouetted against the glowing light of the pendant. Then, to her shock, a voice resonated in her mind. It was deep and gravelly, like the rumble of distant thunder. "Bearer of the key," the voice said. "You awaken the balance." Elena gasped, stumbling back. Did you just speak?" The wolf's head dipped slightly, its glowing eyes never leaving hers. "We guard the key, protect it from those who seek its power." The alien stepped forward, its staff still glowing, but no longer raised in defense. "Guardians?" it asked, its voice tinged with disbelief. "Why attack?" The wolf turned its gaze to the alien, its thoughts projecting into Elena's mind like a chorus of echoes. "The key's energy is unstable. It calls to predators, to chaos. It glanced at Elena, "is untrained. The balance must be restored." Elena looked down at her pendant, its glow now steady and calm. "I didn't ask for this," she whispered. "I don't even know what it is or what I'm supposed to do." The wolf's gaze softened, if such a thing were possible for a creature so fearsome. "None who bear the key are ready, but you must become so." The alien stepped between Elena and the wolf, its staff glowing brighter. "Key belongs, not to wolves, to stars." The wolf growled, though the sound lacked its earlier malice. "The stars are but one part of the balance. She is ours now." "Wait," Elena said, stepping forward despite her fear. "If this pendant is so important, then why didn't anyone tell me? My mom, my dad, they didn't say anything about a key or balance or any of this." The largest wolf tilted its head, the molten glow of its eyes flickering. "The knowledge was lost, but the key finds its bearer. You were chosen, human child." Elena's knees felt weak. The weight of what the wolf said settled heavily on her, and for the first time, she understood the enormity of her situation. She wasn't just a scared little girl lost in an alien forest. She was part of something far bigger, something that had been set in motion long before she was born. The alien touched her arm gently. "You must choose. Wolf's Guard, or..." It gestured upward, toward the stars visible through the canopy. "Return key to origin." Elena looked between the alien and the wolves, her mind spinning with questions she couldn't begin to answer. The wolves, the alien, the pendant, all of it was connected. But how? And why her? Before she could respond, the largest wolf stepped closer, lowering its head until it was eye level with her. Its molten gaze bore into hers, and its voice echoed once more in her mind. "The balance cannot wait. The time of decision is near." As the words faded, the forest around her seemed to grow darker, the glow of the trees dimming. Whatever light the pendant had offered, whatever temporary truce had been struck, was beginning to waver. Elena swallowed hard, clutching the pendant tightly. "What happens if I choose wrong?" The wolf's answer was simple and final. Elena stood frozen, the weight of the wolves' leader's words pressing down on her like a physical force. The pendant in her hand pulsed faintly, its glow steady yet ominous, as if echoing the gravity of the situation. Around her, the alien forest seemed to hold its breath. The phosphorescent trees dimmed slightly, their ethereal glow shifting into softer blues and greens, as if the planet itself was waiting for her response. The end. The words echoed in her mind, spoken without malice, yet carrying an undeniable finality. The largest wolf, its molten orange eyes blazing like small suns, watched her with a strange mix of authority and expectation. Behind it, the pack remained poised but silent, their metallic fur glinting faintly in the dimming light. "What do you mean, the end?" Elena asked, her voice trembling. She tried to sound brave, but the quiver in her tone betrayed her. "The end of what? Me? The forest? Everything?" The wolf's voice returned, deep and resonant, filling her mind as though it were speaking directly to her soul. "The key's imbalance threatens all. Worlds will burn. Life will fade. The balance will shatter." Elena's hands trembled as she clutched the pendant tighter. "But I didn't ask for this. I didn't do anything wrong. I was just—" She trailed off, realizing how small and helpless her words sounded in the face of something so vast. The alien stepped forward, its glowing eyes narrowing as it addressed the wolf. "The key is not her fault. She is young. She learns." The wolf's ears flicked, and it growled low in its throat. "Learning is not enough. The key must be stabilized. Her path will decide all." "What path?" Elena blurted, her voice rising. "You keep saying I'm the key and the balance and all this stuff, but no one's telling me what I'm supposed to do. How am I supposed to fix anything if I don't even know what's wrong?" The wolf fell silent, and the pack behind it shifted uneasily, their glowing eyes glancing between her and their leader. The alien knelt beside Elena, its luminous markings pulsing faintly. "You, not alone," it said softly, its melodic voice soothing. It gestured toward the pendant, then to the wolves. "We guide, protect." Elena's throat tightened. "Protect me, or protect the key?" The alien hesitated, its glowing markings dimming slightly. "Both," it said finally, though the words sounded strained. "There is no separation," the wolf interjected, its voice rumbling like distant thunder. "She is the key. The key is her. Without her, there is no balance. Without the balance, all falls to chaos." Elena wanted to scream. None of this made sense, and yet it was happening. This alien forest, the wolves, the pendant, and this inexplicable connection to something far larger than her 10-year-old mind could comprehend. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away, unwilling to show weakness in front of these strange beings. "So," she said, her voice steadier now, "if I'm supposed to restore the balance, where do I start? What do I actually do?" The wolf lowered its head slightly, its molten eyes never leaving hers. "The key must awaken fully. Its power lies dormant, unshaped. You must find the nexus, the heart of the balance." "Nexus?" Elena repeated, frowning. "Where's that? Is it far from here?" The alien stood, its staff glowing faintly as it turned toward the darkened forest. "Far," it said. "Danger." The wolf growled in agreement. "The journey is perilous. The key will draw hunters, predators, beasts from beyond this world will come." Elena's stomach churned. She glanced at the pendant, which now felt heavier than ever around her neck. "So, you're saying I have to go to this nexus, whatever it is, and wake the key, and along the way, I'll be chased by monsters?" The wolf didn't answer directly, but its solemn gaze was answer enough. The alien, sensing her fear, placed a hand on her shoulder. "You are not alone," it repeated. "I guide, they," it motioned to the wolves, "protect." Elena looked at the pack, their glowing eyes watching her with unsettling intensity. "Protect me?" she asked warily. "Aren't they the ones trying to kill me 5 minutes ago?" The largest wolf stepped closer, its massive frame towering over her. For a moment, Elena tensed, expecting an attack. But instead, the wolf knelt, lowering its head until it was nearly at eye level with her. "We obey the balance," it said, its voice softer now. "The key must survive. Your survival ensures ours." The gesture stunned Elena. This massive predator, capable of tearing her apart in seconds, was bowing to her. A flicker of courage sparked within her, though it was fragile and fleeting. "How long will this journey take?" she asked, glancing at the alien. "Cycles," the alien replied cryptically. "Much time." Elena frowned. "Cycles? Like days? Weeks?" The alien didn't answer directly. Instead, it gestured toward the glowing canopy above. The twin moons were visible through the branches, their positions shifting slightly as the hours passed. Elena sighed, realizing she wasn't going to get a clear answer. "Fine," she said, squaring her shoulders. "I'll do it. I'll go to this nexus and fix the balance or whatever. But I have questions. Lots of questions." The alien nodded, its glowing markings pulsing faintly. "Answers come in time," the wolf growled in agreement. "The path reveals truths, but you must walk it." Elena glanced down at the pendant, its soft glow now a comforting presence against her skin. Her fear hadn't vanished, but it had dulled, replaced by a tentative resolve. "Okay," she said, taking a deep breath. "Where do we start?" The alien turned and pointed its staff toward a faintly glowing trail that wound deeper into the forest. The path seemed to shimmer, as though it were made of liquid light. "This way," it said simply. Elena hesitated, her gaze lingering on the trail. She looked back at the wolves, their metallic fur gleaming as they began to move in unison, forming a protective formation around her. "Great," she muttered under her breath. "Just me, a glowing alien, and a pack of giant wolves against the universe. No pressure." As they set off into the unknown, the forest seemed to come alive around them, its glowing flora shifting in color and intensity, as if responding to their presence. The air grew cooler, the distant sounds of alien creatures echoing through the trees. Elena clutched her pendant tightly, its warmth a constant reminder of the weight she now carried. Whatever this journey held, dangers, answers, or more mysteries, she knew there was no turning back. And as the alien forest swallowed them whole, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that something, or someone, was watching from the shadows. The trail of light beneath Elena's feet felt alive, pulsing faintly as though guiding her with each hesitant step. It wove through the alien forest, which grew denser and stranger the farther they went. The phosphorescent glow of the trees bathed everything in hues of green and blue, while faint bioluminescent particles floated in the air, drifting like glowing dust motes. Elena walked in silence, clutching her pendant tightly. Behind her, the alien figure moved with fluid grace, its staff humming softly as if resonating with the forest. The pack of wolves flanked her on all sides, their movements eerily synchronized. The largest wolf, the leader, walked closest, its molten orange eyes scanning their surroundings with an intensity that made her shiver. "How much farther?" Elena asked, breaking the silence. The alien glanced at her, its glowing eyes narrowing slightly. "Far," it replied, its voice low and melodic. "Path changes. Time bends." Elena frowned. "What does that even mean? How can time bend?" The alien didn't answer, instead pointing its staff toward the trail ahead. The path twisted sharply, disappearing into a thicket of thorny vines that glimmered faintly in the dim light. The largest wolf growled low in its throat. "The forest tests us," it said, its voice resonating in Elena's mind. "It senses the key." "Test us how?" Elena asked, her voice edged with nervousness. The wolf didn't answer immediately. Its molten eyes flicked toward her, then toward the dense thicket ahead. "We will see." "Great," Elena muttered under her breath, "because everything so far has been so easy." Despite her attempt at sarcasm, her fear was palpable. She could feel the weight of the pendant pressing against her chest, its faint warmth both comforting and unnerving. As they approached the thicket, the alien raised its staff, and a soft beam of light emitted from its tip. The thorny vines seemed to recoil slightly, curling away from the light, as though alive. "Stay close," the alien said, glancing back at Elena. Elena nodded, her pulse quickening as they entered the thicket. The air grew heavier, tinged with a metallic scent that made her nose wrinkle. The vines seemed to move on their own, twisting and writhing as if reacting to their presence. The wolves moved cautiously, their metallic fur bristling. The leader growled softly, and the pack immediately closed ranks around Elena, their glowing eyes scanning the shifting shadows. The further they went, the more oppressive the forest became. The glowing trees were replaced by towering black spires that oozed a faint, amber-colored liquid. The ground beneath them felt slick and uneven, as though they were walking on the surface of some massive living organism. "Is it supposed to feel like this?" Elena asked, her voice trembling. The alien didn't answer, its focus entirely on the path ahead. The pendant around Elena's neck began to pulse more intensely, its glow illuminating the darkness around her. The warmth it emitted grew stronger, almost hot, as if trying to warn her of something. Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the forest, followed by a distant roar that sent chills down Elena's spine. "What was that?" she whispered, glancing at the wolves. The largest wolf bared its teeth, its molten eyes narrowing. "The forest awakens," it said, its voice low and growling. "It senses your power." Elena swallowed hard, her grip on the pendant tightening. "That's not comforting." The alien turned to her, its glowing markings pulsing faintly. "Do not fear," it said. "You hold light. They fear light." Before Elena could respond, the ground beneath them trembled, and the amber liquid oozing from the spires began to bubble. From the shadows, dark shapes emerged, slender, elongated figures with glowing red eyes and razor-sharp appendages. They moved with unsettling speed, circling the group like predators, sizing up their prey. Elena froze, her heart pounding in her chest. "What are those?" The alien raised its staff, the light from its tip flaring brighter. "Hunters," it said grimly. "They come for key." The largest wolf growled, its metallic fur bristling as it stepped protectively in front of Elena. "We fight!" Elena's breath hitched. "Fight? With those? They're everywhere." The alien glanced at her, its voice calm despite the tension. "You, stronger than fear. Trust, light." Before Elena could process the alien's words, one of the hunters lunged, its razor-sharp limbs slicing through the air. The wolves reacted instantly, the largest one leaping forward with a snarl that echoed like thunder. The two creatures collided, a clash of metal against shadow, and the clearing erupted into chaos. The pack moved as one, their metallic forms shimmering as they tore into the hunters with ferocious precision. The alien held its ground beside Elena, its staff emitting beams of searing light that struck the hunters with pinpoint accuracy. Elena stood frozen, her pendant pulsing wildly against her chest. She wanted to run, to hide, but something kept her rooted to the spot. The warmth of the pendant grew stronger, spreading through her body like a wave. "Trust the light," the wolf's voice echoed in her mind. Taking a shaky breath, Elena reached for the pendant, clutching it tightly. The glow intensified, and a surge of energy coursed through her. She didn't know how she knew what to do, but something deep inside her, a voice, a feeling, guided her. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice ringing out with surprising strength. The pendant flared with blinding light, and the hunters recoiled, their shrieks piercing the air. The wolves paused, their glowing eyes turning to her in unison. The light expanded outward, enveloping the clearing in a dome of radiant energy. The hunters writhed and screeched, their forms dissolving into wisps of shadow as the light consumed them. Within moments, the clearing was silent once more. The hunters gone. Elena swayed, the energy fading as quickly as it had come. The pendant's glow dimmed and the warmth receded, leaving her feeling cold and drained. The alien steadied her, its glowing markings flickering faintly. "You learn fast," it said, its voice tinged with approval. The largest wolf approached, its molten eyes fixed on her. "The key awakens," it said, "but the path grows darker." Elena looked at the pendant, her fingers trembling. "What just happened? How did I do that?" The alien stepped back, its gaze thoughtful. "Light. Within you. Key responds." Elena's head swam with questions, but before she could ask any of them, the ground beneath them trembled again, this time more violently. The forest around them seemed to shift and warp, the towering spires bending unnaturally. The largest wolf growled, its voice sharp and urgent. "We must move. The nexus awaits." Elena nodded, forcing herself to take a deep breath. She didn't understand what was happening, but one thing was clear: she couldn't stop now. As they resumed their journey, the pendant pulsed faintly against her chest, a reminder of the power she had barely begun to understand. And in the shadows beyond the glowing trail, something unseen watched, its presence sending a chill down her spine. The journey to the Nexus had only just begun. The forest grew quieter as Elena and her companions moved deeper into its heart, the faint glow of the trail lighting their way. The eerie silence was oppressive, broken only by the soft hum of the alien staff and the occasional rustle of unseen creatures in the underbrush. Every step felt heavier than the last, as if the forest itself resisted their presence. The pack of wolves moved with disciplined precision, their metallic bodies glinting faintly in the soft light. The largest wolf stayed close to Elena, its molten orange eyes scanning their surroundings with relentless focus. The alien walked ahead, its glowing staff occasionally pulsing as it gestured toward the shifting path. Elena's mind churned with questions, but the intensity of the earlier battle left her hesitant to speak. She kept her gaze fixed on the pendant, which now felt warm and faintly alive against her skin. It pulsed rhythmically, as though it had its own heartbeat. Finally, the silence became too much to bear. "What exactly happened back there?" she asked, her voice breaking the stillness. The alien paused, its luminous eyes turning toward her. "Light awakened," it said. "Key responds to you." "But why now?" Elena pressed. "Why didn't it do anything when I was in danger before? Why does it feel like it's alive?" The alien tilted its head, its glowing markings dimming slightly as though in thought. "Key connected to balance, to life. It learns." "Learns?" Elena repeated, frowning. "What does that even mean?" The largest wolf growled softly, its voice resonating in her mind. "The key reflects its wielder. It grows as you grow. Its power is not yet whole." Elena frowned, clutching the pendant tightly. If it's not whole, how am I supposed to fix this balance thing? You all keep saying I'm the key, but I don't feel like one. I'm just me. The wolf's gaze softened, its voice quieter. The key chooses not for who you are, but for who you can become. You will shape it as it shapes you. The weight of its words settled heavily on Elena. She wanted to argue, to push back against the immense responsibility thrust upon her, but deep down, she knew there was no escaping it. The path began to twist again, narrowing as it led them toward a dense thicket of shimmering blue vines. The air grew colder, and the faint hum of the pendant seemed to grow louder in her ears. The alien raised its staff, and a beam of light cut through the vines, parting them to reveal a clearing. At its center stood a massive stone monolith, etched with intricate glowing symbols that pulsed faintly in the darkness. Elena stepped closer, her gaze drawn to the monolith. The symbols seemed familiar, though she couldn't place why. They twisted and shifted as if alive, forming patterns that made her head spin. "What is this place?" she asked, her voice hushed. The alien approached the monolith, its markings glowing brighter in its presence. "Waypoint," it said simply. "Anchor for the key." "Anchor?" Elena echoed, stepping closer. "What does it do?" The wolf growled low in its throat. "The monolith reveals truths hidden in shadows, knowledge of the key." Bescati shouted. Elena hesitated, her gaze flicking between the alien, the wolf, and the monolith. The pendant pulsed again, the warmth spreading through her chest like a beckoning call. "Go," the alien said, gesturing toward the stone. "Touch. Learn." Elena swallowed hard, her heart pounding as she approached the monolith. Its towering surface loomed over her, the glowing symbols dancing like fireflies. She reached out a trembling hand, the pendant glowing brighter as her fingers brushed the cool stone. The world around her shifted instantly. Elena found herself standing in a vast, endless void. Stars and galaxies swirled around her in a breathtaking display of light and color. The ground beneath her feet was smooth and translucent, like a glass bridge spanning an infinite chasm. In the distance, a figure emerged from the void, a shimmering silhouette that glowed with the same light as her pendant. It moved toward her, its form shifting and indistinct, as though it were made of pure energy. "Who are you?" Elena asked, her voice echoing in the emptiness. The figure didn't speak, but its presence filled her mind with a flood of images. Worlds teeming with life, forests like the one she had just left, oceans stretching endlessly under twin suns. She saw cities of light, towering structures that touched the heavens, and countless beings of different shapes and forms. Then, just as suddenly, the images shifted. Darkness spread like a stain, consuming the vibrant worlds. The cities crumbled, the forests burned, and the oceans boiled away into nothingness. A void of absolute blackness remained, swallowing everything in its path. Elena staggered back, overwhelmed by the vision. "What is this? What does it mean?" The figure raised its hand, and the pendant around her neck flared with light. A voice, soft and distant, echoed in her mind. "The balance fractures. The key must mend." Elena's breath hitched. "How? I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know why this is happening to me." The figure stepped closer, its light enveloping her. She felt a strange warmth, a sense of calm that steadied her racing thoughts. "The journey reveals the path. Trust the light within." Before Elena could respond, the void around her shattered like glass, and she was back in the clearing. She gasped, stumbling away from the monolith. The alien caught her, its grip firm but gentle. "You saw," it said. "Truth begins to unfold." Elena nodded, her heart still racing. I saw worlds, life, then darkness, everything gone. The largest wolf stepped forward, its molten eyes fixed on her. The balance is fragile. Darkness rises when the key falters. The nexus awaits. There, you will understand. Elena clenched her fists, the pendant glowing faintly in response. What if I can't do it? What if I fail? The alien tilted its head, its glowing markings pulsing softly. Failure, not final. Choice shapes fate. The wolf growled in agreement. Courage is not absence of fear. It is action despite fear. Elena took a deep breath, steadying herself. The vision had shaken her, but it had also ignited a spark of determination. She didn't fully understand what lay ahead, but she knew she couldn't turn back. Fine, she said, her voice firm. Let's find this nexus. The alien nodded, and the wolves moved into formation around her once more. As they set off into the unknown, the path before them seemed to shimmer with new light, as though responding to Elena's resolve. In the shadows beyond the clearing, unseen eyes watched their departure. A low, guttural growl echoed in the distance, followed by a flicker of movement. The darkness was waking.